working to connect a region of over 600 million bridges between our lands.
Good evening, I'm Alma Angeles, and you're watching ASEAN in Focus on tonight's headlines. The United Nations issued a warning urging global preparations for the impacts of El Nino. The weather phenomenon known for triggering high temperatures worldwide is anticipated to persist throughout the year 2023, with its potential to disrupt weather patterns and exacerbate climate-related challenges. The UN emphasized the need for proactive measures to mitigate its effects. UN High Commissioner for Human Rights Volker Turk delivers a powerful address at the 53rd session of the Human Rights Council in Geneva, sounding the alarm on the critical issue of climate change. Turk issues a dire warning, emphasizing the severe threat it poses to people's fundamental right to food. Indonesia's President Joko Widodo and Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese met in Sydney to discuss clean energy and security in the Asia-Pacific region. Widodo urged Australia to help Indonesia ramp up electric vehicle production as the two countries seek to reduce their reliance on coal. And in a surprising turn of events, Barbie finds herself caught in a geopolitical minefield as Vietnam has taken the drastic step of banning the upcoming Barbie movie. The dispute revolves around dashes on the map depicted in the film's trailer, which have ignited tensions related to the hotly contested South China Sea. And tonight, the World Meteorological Organization has announced that the El Nino weather pattern has re-emerged in the Pacific Ocean after a 7-year hiatus. This natural phenomenon is a major driver of the Earth's climate system and is expected to contribute to increased heat and the potential for new temperature records. Let's listen in.
The tropical Pacific Ocean is currently experiencing El Nino condition. And this is a result of rapid and substantive change both in the atmosphere and in the ocean. The temperature is expected to be above the average in a warm band of latitude between 50 south and 50 north. That's a place where you have locations such as the maritime continent, Caribbean, Central America, northern part of South America.
The impact of El Nino on global temperatures typically unfolds in the year following its development, making it most apparent in 2024, according to the WMO. Regarding regional effects, Mr. Mufama Okia highlighted that temperatures are expected to be above average in the maritime continent, a region encompassing Indonesia, Borneo, New Guinea, the Philippine Islands, the Malay Peninsula, and the surrounding seas.
WMO issued another report where we try to estimate the likelihood of one of the next 5 years reaching and even exceeding the 1.5 degree. So basically with El Nino, we have a high probability for this temperature to be one of the warmest on record.
Looking ahead, Mr. Okia revealed that there is a 90% chance of El Nino prevailing in the second half of 2023. The global forecasting community will closely monitor the conditions as they develop. El Nino events typically occur every 2 to 7 years and last for about 9 to 12 months, according to the WMO. In a powerful address delivered to the 53rd session of the Human Rights Council in Geneva, the UN Human Rights Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk, issued a dire warning about the grave threat climate change poses to people's right to food. Turk emphasized the urgency of the situation.
We know that our environment is burning. It's melting, it's flooding, it's depleting, it's drying, it's dying.
Now, Turk also drew attention to the transformation of once fertile inland seas and lakes into barren dust bowls, affecting generations of farmers.
The predictable, regular swing of the seasons is wildly off course. Cyclones of unprecedented proportions whip up lethal storm surges, a heat wave pulsates across the ocean, threatening marine life, fisheries and coral, and inland seas and lakes, which have nourished generation upon generation of farmers, are turning into dust balls.
Despite the clear and pressing need for action, Turk criticized the lack of urgency and determination among global leaders.
Still, we are not acting with the urgency and determination that is required. Leaders perform the choreography of deciding to act and promising to act, and then get stuck in the short term.
Focusing on the right to food, Turk emphasized that climate change comprehensively threatens this fundamental human right.
On our current course, the average temperature increase by the end of this century is predicted to be 3 degrees Celsius if nothing changes, and our ecosystems, our air, our food, our water and human life itself would be unrecognizable. Vast territories would disappear under rising oceans or become effectively uninhabitable due to heat and lack of water. Our topic this morning is the right to food, and clearly this is comprehensively threatened by climate change. Extreme weather events and both sudden and gradual disasters caused by climate change wipe out crops, herds, fisheries and entire ecosystems. Their repetition makes it impossible for communities to rebuild and support themselves. As global heating accelerates, these repercussions will grow more widespread and more intense. No country will be spared. The worst hit will be people in countries where there is already food insecurity and where protection systems are not sufficiently robust to respond effectively to climate shocks. Often these are countries that benefited little from industrial development and contributed next to nothing to the industrial processes which are killing our environment and violating rights. If this is not a human rights issue, what is?
According to Turk, over 828 million people faced hunger in 2021, and climate change is projected to put an additional 80 million people at risk of hunger by the middle of this century.
We must not deliver this future of hunger and suffering to our children and their children, and we don't have to. We, the generation with the most powerful technological tools in history, have the capacity to change it. If we put an end to senseless subsidies to the fossil fuel industry and start phasing out of fossil fuels. If we make COP28 the decisive game changer that we so badly need, we can fulfill the Sustainable Development Goals, we can realize our universal right to food.
Now, yesterday marked a historic milestone as Monday became the hottest day ever recorded on Earth, with an average daily air temperature exceeding 17 degrees Celsius for the first time. Now, this groundbreaking measurement was initially reported on Tuesday by U.S. meteorologists affiliated with the organization attached to the U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. According to data from NOAA's National Centers for Environmental Prediction dating back to 1979, the recorded average daily air temperature on July 3 reached an average or unprecedented 17 degrees Celsius, surpassing the previous record of 16.92 set on July 24 last year. Now, this record is currently awaiting confirmation from other measurements, but experts suggest that it may soon be broken as the summer season intensifies in the northern hemisphere. Typically, the average global temperature continues to rise until the end of July or the beginning of August. In fact, even last month, average global temperatures were the warmest ever recorded for the start of June, according to the European Union's Copernicus Climate Monitoring Unit. Looking ahead, temperatures are expected to further exceed historical averages in the coming year due to the onset of the El Niño weather phenomenon in the Pacific Ocean. Indonesia President Joko Widodo has highlighted strategic cooperation with Australia on batteries for electric vehicles as a top priority. Now, this announcement came after talks with his Australian counterpart, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, during an annual leaders' meeting held in Sydney. Let's listen in.
There's a lot that Australia can offer Indonesia and the region in the energy transition, including the global move towards electric vehicles. We are rich in all of the components and the expertise needed for renewable energy. The President and I welcomed growing cooperation in this area, including through the MOU that was signed between the WA Government and the Indonesian Chamber of Commerce and Industry. We are advancing cooperation and collaboration on this vital matter which provides an incredible opportunity for us going forward.
Indonesia dan Australia harus membangun kerjasama ekonomi yang lebih substantif dan strategis melalui pengembangan bersama produksi baterai EV. Yang kedua, terkait perdagangan, sejak berlakunya Indonesia-Australia SEPA, volume perdagangan naik 90%. 90%.
Now, President Widodo, who is currently serving his final term in office, aims to develop a battery production industry in Indonesia, leveraging the country's vast nickel reserves, which are the largest in the world. The collaboration with Australia in this area holds significant potential for advancing the green economy and promoting sustainable energy solutions. In response, Prime Minister Albanese unveiled a noteworthy initiative allocating 50 million Australian dollars to attract private climate finance to Indonesia. Additionally, Export Finance Australia has committed to establishing a 200 million Australian dollar capital financing facility in partnership with PT Perusahaan Listrik Negara, Indonesia's state electricity company, to support the country's transition towards clean energy sources. During leaders' meeting discussions, they also discussed regional security issues. Prime Minister Albanese emphasized the importance of their country's bilateral security cooperation. President Widodo, on his part, highlighted Indonesia's clear position within ASEAN and its vision for a stable and peaceful Indo-Pacific region. Let's listen in.
Finally, we talked about regional peace and security. Our bilateral security cooperation is, of course, underpinned by the Lombok Treaty. The President and I welcomed our Defence Ministers' agreement in February of this year to elevate our defence cooperation to a treaty-level agreement. President Widodo, your leadership of the G20 last year was exemplary. This year you are again playing a critical role as the chair of ASEAN, and as ever, Australia stands ready to support Indonesia's priorities as chair. And on that note, I certainly look forward to welcoming you back to Australia next March, when I will host the ASEAN-Australia Special Summit.
Isu regional dan global, saya menyampaikan posisi Indonesia dan ASEAN sangat jelas. Ingin Indo-Pasifik menjadi kawasan yang damai dan stabil, yang mengedepankan kolaborasi dan kerjasama konkret. Saya mengapresiasi dukungan Australia pada keketuaan Indonesia di ASEAN dan mengajak Australia untuk memperkuat kemitraan di Pasifik Selatan melalui kerjasama trilateral dan berpartisipasi dalam ASEAN Indo-Pacific Forum.
And good news for business travelers between Indonesia and Australia, as both countries have reached a deal aimed at strengthening their economic partnership. During the meeting, Prime Minister Albanese announced significant changes to the visa system. Indonesian business travelers will now enjoy easier access to Australia, with the duration of business visas extended from 3 to 5 years. Here's more.
And today our relationship shifts up another gear. Our countries continue to choose to draw closer together as economic partners, as security partners, and as partners in the global transition to net zero. Australia sees Indonesia's success as pivotal to our region's success. Indonesia's prosperity, security and stability makes the Indo-Pacific region more prosperous, more secure and more stable. To support our expanding business and commercial links, Indonesians will gain access to an extended business visa from 3 to 5 years, and we will prioritise Indonesian e-passport holders to access our smart gates. We will put arrangements in place also for Indonesians to access the frequent travellers visa. This offers a 10-year visa validity.
Now, this agreement is expected to boost bilateral trade and foster stronger economic ties, creating opportunities for increased collaboration and business growth. These developments come as part of a broader effort to enhance cooperation between Indonesia and Australia, as President Widodo and Prime Minister Albanese also discussed climate initiatives and education partnerships during their fruitful discussions at the Taronga Zoo. In tonight's other news, pro-democracy opposition party Move Forward secured a resounding victory on May 14 in Thailand. Now, this electoral success was fueled by the widespread support for their agenda, which includes removing the army from politics, addressing economic monopolies, and amending the royal defamation law that shields the monarchy from criticism. However, Move Forward's progressive agenda has faced opposition from the conservative royalist establishment, including caretaker Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha. Now today, in an important ceremony, all 750 members of the two chambers of parliament, comprising 250 senators appointed by the military-dominated government and 500 elected lawmakers gathered in front of King Maha Vajiralongkorn. The king, in his role as the constitutional monarch, officially inaugurated the parliament.
ขอให้ท่านทั้งหลายผู้เป็นสมาชิกของสภาแห่งนี้ได้ระลึกไว้เสมอว่าท่านเป็นผู้ได้รับมอบหมายจากประชาชนให้มาเป็นตัวแทนของคนทั้งประเทศในการใช้อำนาจนิติบัญญัติเพื่อดำเนินการปกครองและพิจารณาออกกฎหมายต่างๆ
Among the parliamentarians present was Pita Limjaronrat, the leader of the Move Forward party. Pita, who claims to have the popular mandate to be the next prime minister, faces the challenge of forming a coalition with other pro-democracy parties to secure a majority in the vote for premiership. However, there are concerns that the Senate, which is unlikely to support Move Forward's candidate due to their stance on reforming royal defamation law. As the deadline for the vote approaches, Pita must garner the support of at least 376 parliamentarians to become the next prime minister. If he faces obstruction, there are indications that the Pheu Thai party, another prominent pro-democracy faction, could nominate an alternative candidate who has a better chance of meeting the required threshold. Speculation is now rife regarding potential candidates, with names such as Sreta Tavisin, a renowned property mogul who advises the Pheu Thai party, and Parangtorn Shinawat, the daughter of former Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawat, being mentioned as potential contenders for the premiership. In tonight's other news, the beauty and personal care market in the Philippines is poised for substantial growth, with estimates predicting it to reach $4.7 billion by 2026. Now, this information comes from a recent report by the Allied Market Research titled Philippines Beauty Personal Care Market by Product Type, Gender, End Use, Nature, and Distribution Channel, Opportunity Analysis and Industry Forecast for 2019 to 2026. Now, the report highlights that the market size of beauty and personal care products in the country was valued at $3.3 billion back in 2018, reflecting a steady growth trend. With a compound annual growth rate of 4.8% from 2019 to 2026, the market is expected to witness sustained expansion. Beauty and personal care products encompass a wide range of items, including sun care, skin care, hair care products, toiletries, and fragrances. Now, in terms of distribution channels, these products are readily available to consumers through various avenues such as supermarkets, hypermarkets, online stores, and specialty stores across the Philippines. Now, this accessibility contributes to the market's growth and allows consumers to choose from a diverse range of options. Additionally, it identifies the skincare segment as the largest share in the Philippine market. The segment's dominance is expected to continue throughout the forecast period, driven by factors like the rise in influence of celebrities on young consumers through social media. And tonight, the latest updates from the 13th Annual South China Sea Conference held by the CSIS Southeast Asia Program and Asia Maritime Transparency Initiative. Assistant Secretary Crittenbrink delivered a keynote speech highlighting significant developments in the U.S. military and law enforcement assistance to Southeast Asian partners.
First, our diplomacy. Together with like-minded partners, we are promoting respect for international law and the rules-based order, freedom of navigation and overflight, unimpeded commerce, and the need for peaceful settlement of disputes. We have a number of maritime capacity building programs for the region's maritime law enforcement agencies and militaries, and these programs give countries maritime domain awareness and the ability to patrol their claims, which we believe further promotes peace and stability. Our own operations of the U.S. military, which include freedom of navigation operations and routine presence operations, which demonstrate that all countries have the right to fly, sell, and operate anywhere that international law.
Now, Crittenbrink also discussed the Quad-supported Indo-Pacific Partnership for Maritime Domain Awareness, or IPMDA, which promotes transparency in the region.
We're helping increase transparency in the region by enabling Southeast Asian nations to monitor their maritime areas and international sea lanes via low Earth orbit satellites that identify ships by their radio traffic and automated tracking systems. Through IPMDA, we're providing near real-time integrated and cost-effective maritime domain data to the region, particularly to the claimant states. And we're supporting maritime agencies' efforts to combat a wide range of illicit maritime activities, including illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing, and responding to climate-related and humanitarian events.
In addition to its ongoing efforts to enhance maritime security in Southeast Asia, the U.S. reaffirmed its commitment to supporting the implementation of the ASEAN outlook on the Indo-Pacific's maritime pillar.
The AOIP's maritime pillar includes deploying personnel and presence to the region, promoting capacity building through maritime coordination and fusion centers, countering IUU fishing, expanding training for regional partners, maritime law enforcement agencies, and also promoting readiness, sustainable equipment, and workforce professionalization.
Highlighting concerning incidents in the South China Sea, Assistant Secretary Crittenbrink raised awareness of recent actions that have escalated tensions in the regions. He drew attention to the specific incidents involving the Chinese Coast Guard, emphasizing the need for the People's Republic of China to adhere to international law and cease unlawful and provocative activities in the South China Sea.
Against South China Sea claimants, the PRC routinely harasses vessels lawfully operating in their respective EEZs. And in February, for example, the Chinese Coast Guard used a laser device against the crew of a Philippines Coast Guard vessel. And 2 months later, a China Coast Guard ship then blocked a Philippine patrol vessel with a group of journalists on board in the vicinity of 2nd Thomas Shoal. The United States again calls on the PRC to comply with the July 12, 2016 decision of the Arbitral Tribunal in the South China Sea arbitration and to cease its unlawful and provocative activities in the South China Sea.
And finally, in our news, in a surprising turn of events, Barbie finds herself caught in a geopolitical minefield as Vietnam has taken the drastic step of banning the upcoming Barbie movie. Take a look.
Can I come to your house tonight?
Sure. I don't have anything big planned, just a giant blowout party with all the Barbies and planned choreography and a bespoke song. You should stop by.
So cool.
The dispute revolves around dashes on the map depicted in the film's trailer, which have ignited tensions related to the hotly contested South China Sea.
What do I have to do? You have to go to the real world.
The South China Sea is an area of strategic importance, abundant with marine life, minerals, resources, and petroleum. However, multiple countries, including the Philippines, Malaysia, Vietnam, Taiwan, and China, claim sovereignty over parts of this region. It's no wonder that military standoffs and territorial disputes often arise, such as China's controversial island-building efforts by dumping sands onto reefs. Mattel, the manufacturer of Barbie toys, produces about 3/4 of its products in China. However, in 2016, an international tribunal at The Hague declared China's claim on the disputed territory invalid and deemed its island-building activities illegal. China asserts its ownership over the disputed Spratly Islands using a contentious 9-dash line on the map. The mere presence of dashes in this case has become a point of contention, particularly for Vietnam. Vietnam, charging ahead with its objections, officially refused to grant a license for the Barbie film, citing the inclusion of the offensive image of the 9-dash line. Now, this isn't the first time Vietnam has taken such action, as it previously banned the release of the 2019 movie Abominable.
Dad always wanted me to travel the world. Someday.
The Australian series Pine Gap in 2021 and Uncharted last year, all for similar reasons. Now, Barbie finds herself playing with a far more dangerous fire as her involvement in this dispute carries significant geopolitical implications. The clash over the dashes on the map serves as a reminder of the ongoing tensions in the region and the delicate nature of international relations. As my usual habit, I'd like to end the day on a positive note. Let's encourage and build each other up so that no one is left behind. And that's it for tonight's broadcast. I'm Alma Angeles. Stay in the news because we live in extraordinary times. Good night.